So welcome to our session on how to live from a higher state. And this is actually tremendously important to understand because a lot of people do personal development, all sorts of exercises and processes and methods and extraordinary things, and they hope to somehow or other either clear their past or in some way actually be able to manifest what they want just through these methods and techniques. But what you want to know is that you have to get into a higher state amongst other things. So we'll cover everything here. We'll go over the basics briefly, and then after that we'll move ahead with this kind of knowledge. So the way to approach your personal development really sensibly is to see how can you create the best life possible. That's the important one that fills you with energy, with happiness, with wealth, with excitement, and so on. This is what requires the higher state of consciousness. It is your natural state anyway. It's not something that you have to sort of build like big muscles. It's your natural state. And what we're going to do is, first of all, understand the extraordinary and untapped potentials you have to become a true life creator. And as you will see, it is your mind and your consciousness that creates your life. If you get the secrets of how these two work together, then you've got the keys to the kingdom for the greatest life possible. So imagine that just for a moment. It's always good to imagine the kind of experiences that you want to have. Maybe it's to be able to live exactly as you please. Maybe it's to have the ideal home and lifestyle, the heart-connected relationship, the financial security, the interesting career, the free time. All those things are very, very important. And some people can get one or two of them, but it's much better to go for the whole hog, if you like. And to live in this way, you have to know how the intelligence of life itself actually brings into existence this material universe, because it does something on a mass scale very similar to what we do on a tiny individual scale. In fact, you can say you've got your own universe to live and play in, that you're projecting this universe out all the time. So the first basic truth for you to understand how your life works is this: you are a person who manifests, which means you choose and create experiences. That's what you do. And these experiences are all the events, circumstances, and everything else that happens to make up your everyday life. And that's all you do throughout your life. You manifest experiences and you live them out. So just hold that thought in your mind for a few moments. You are doing it from some level of your being. In other words, nothing outside yourself is dictating what happens to you unless you have either agreed to being in its control or found yourself in some sort of entrapped state. Either way, it's vital to start looking inside yourself in a way that you can make real changes. And as you do this, when you do look within yourself in this specific way to attempt to find out how life is created, because let's face it, you need to know that, because if you want to change anything, you've got to use the same mechanisms. Well, what you'll discover is this projector, something that projects, and we call this the mind. Now, the mind is an invisible faculty. People speak of the mind as if it's some sort of physical, material organism, something that can be weighed and measured. But no one has ever found a mind or even seen a mind. It's just a word they use for something that they don't know. And it's a useful word. People agree and nod and say, oh, the mind, as though they know what they're talking about. But in fact, they can't really identify it because it's invisible. And what they're doing now, as you probably noticed, is that they're identifying mind with the brain. And that's probably quite sensible in a way to allow some sort of scientific research to take place. But it's not going to help you project any better experiences, nor is it going to do anything that will speed up your journey. In fact, you may find yourself diverted along a long, long, hopeless path that leads to nowhere if you believe the mind is in the brain. We don't know. These are early days for science at the moment. So what you really need for a truly fabulous and totally fulfilling life is to become aware of how your mind actually manifests your life. Because if you can do that, then you can use that knowledge to create what you want. So let's look and see how it is that you can improve whatever you want. Now, if you wish to create improvements or changes in any part of your life, there is only one thing you can do. You have to increase the quality of your manifestation abilities. This is because your manifesting power that you were born with has been blocked in its journey to full development, and it has stopped itself reaching full maturity. These past experiences. Now, the manifesting power is not dead. It's just not been exercised fully. In fact, very few people know they've got it. If you stood up and said to everybody in a big hall, you have basically got some sort of invisible mechanism that projects your life and creates all your relationships and family life and money and jobs and everything else, many people would think you were mad, completely bonkers. They don't have any other answer for it, of course, but it's just such a stretch for them to reach that point that you are the creator of your life. They can give lip service to it, of course, with, you know, put physical effort in and that sort of thing, but essentially to believe that mind has some sort of power to create your life is a big, big stretch for so many people. So you have, in fact, already a manifesting genius. It comes hardwired. It is your default program, but it gets buried by the conditioning very deeply, and it's even crushed under those layers of memories from your past. Your past is a very heavy weight to carry. It contains all your conditioning, all the impressions and influences that went into you during your upbringing, all the unresolved emotions, feelings, disappointments, frustrations, and so on. And these together become known as the sabotage patterns in psychology. And they are the anchors that you must release, because what they do is undermine your freedom of expression. And this is the real key. You can tell how free your mind is based on how much freedom of expression you have. Of course, there are other limitations, but that is one of the primary things, quite obviously. And what you need to do is not to try to work out everything in the past that's really stuffed you around, limited you, contracted you, entrapped you, and so on. What you need to do is to rise above these and rescue your true power of manifestation and grow it to maturity. In other words, you've got to kickstart the engine of evolution and growth within yourself to get you back to your natural state. And once you do this, you do find your true self, your true identity, and you also unlock whatever it is that is holding you back, because all of us have a variety of things limiting us, holding us back. As they say, everyone has their cross to bear. And if you can really turn your attention within as a formal activity regularly, you find that you can sense inside yourself that you have greater powers. They're deep down, yes, but you start to get a sense of them. You don't know what it is, but you know it's powerful. You start to feel it. And as you pay attention to it, then you find you can bring these powers of manifestation into your life. So let's start at the very beginning. Have you ever thought why it is that your life has turned out in the way that it has, and how everything works in your world to give you all your experiences? Have you ever stopped to think and consider that? Very, very useful and powerful thing to do. For instance, have you considered why you have the wealth you have, or the lack of it? Why you have the relationships you have or have had, career, the lifestyle, everything else? There are clearly reasons, because we live in a universe governed by unbreakable laws, and if you understand those laws, or principles if you prefer, then you have the means to live as you please. A lot of people try to live as they please by struggling in the outside world, not realizing that we live in a mind-based universe. In other words, things begin as a sort of blueprint in some sort of ethereal part of the world or the universe, and then that actually is projected into physical form. That's the way around it goes. Mind, physical form, not the other way around, as some people like to think. So these laws or principles can be used more consciously every moment of your life, and you do it unconsciously at the moment because they're hidden from your view. But once you've understood the secret knowledge, you will naturally become immensely powerful. Why? Because you will know the mysteries of your mind. You'll know the mysteries of creation. You'll see how it's done. You'll realize that by focusing your mind in particular ways, you can activate your manifesting power. You can attract into your life all the elements that you need to make up different experiences. But you need to have this creator concept. You need to feel yourself as a superconscious creator. You've got to build yourself into that kind of mentality in order to be able to do it. You can't dip your toe in and hope for the best. You either live like that or you don't live like that. You either are the creator or you're the victim. Those are the choices that we have. There's nothing sort of in the middle. So let's now look up the steps that will help you get this thoroughly. So the first step is that your mind is the creative manifesting power in your life. That's number one. If you look at how you create anything, a person, an event, an opportunity arises in the screen of your life, and you say, yes, I will go with you, or no, I will not. There's no other choices, yes or no. These are fundamental pieces of knowledge. That's why you married the person you did, followed the career path, you've got the money that you've got, and everything else in life. Now, when you understand your manifesting power, which is the power of the mind to create, in other words, you will also have direct knowledge of all the deeper underlying functions of how your own life has been created. Once you see the mechanics of creation, this is so important to get this, and you can look in any part of life because everything's being created, and then when you can start to see these mechanisms, they come to you intuitively into the superconscious, you can then improve or change anything. But people don't realize that they can't improve anything unless they first of all see how it was created. People want to change things in their life, they want to improve things in their life, but they don't know how it happened in the first place. They don't realize the elements that are in there. It's quite easy to understand, but you've got to bring your attention back to you, the center of you, and then you can improve or change anything at all. So what I would suggest is that you identify the major areas of your life that don't work as you want them to, or you can't make happen, and write them down. Describe that relationship issue, that financial issue, that lifestyle issue, whatever it is, Write it down. On the page, you show the reasons it's not satisfying, how you would like it better. You see, if you can, are you imitating someone from your family who had similar experiences or behaved in the same ways? Now, what is very interesting for you is this: as you start to enter into this sort of self-analysis by extroverting it from the head onto the page, writing it down, of course, what you find is that your superconscious, which is your highest intelligence, will eventually give you the truth of why your life is as it is, so that you can resolve it and cease to live out those unsatisfying experiences. People find this quite surprising and shocking, that the superconscious will deliver. The superconscious is on your side, it's yours, it will deliver. Now imagine how useful that would be for you if you could define precisely what was the cause, the actual cause of anything that is a problem or that's blocking you, or that you're suddenly experiencing. You don't know what it is. Very, very important to get that, because we've all got a mind. Most of us don't know how to use it. Most of us are lost in some fog of semi-trance living. And yes, you are aware of the tips of the iceberg of your mind, the thoughts, the images, the feelings, those sorts of things that go on in the monkey chatter. But the powers of manifestation are known only to a few. And again, this is the most important knowledge that you can receive. So the knowledge of that, that's the first step that we've looked at. There's something inside you, in other words, at this moment that's creating and causing everything that you're choosing to live out. The second step is it is a specific part of your mind that runs the show, and that is the superconscious. Because it runs the show, it should be the true goal of your life, because it is the faculty that's actually doing the creating. And once you do know it, then you can become your own conscious life creator, or even a manifesting genius, where you can ask and direct the life energy to mold itself into whatever experiences you want to live out. Now, we know that we live in this subatomic particle material world that's dancing electricity and that kind of thing. And what we need to do and want to do is to mold that energy. We don't actually do it consciously with our own mind. The superconscious does it. But it is us that forms the blueprints of what we want to experience. And we draw sort of magnetically the life force to grow these experiences on the screen of our own personal life. So the material world, this solid, if you hit your head on a rock, you know how solid it is. This solid material physical world is, strangely enough, something that can be deliberately molded or shaped, just like a sculptor can give a clear form to a clay statue, for instance. And this is very close. Start to think of yourself as a life sculptor, that you shape the clay of your life with your mind's manifesting powers. Of course, you can't see it happening and make it happen. All you can see is the result there, but you need to intellectually grasp it. So whether it's great wealth you want, or fabulous relationships, the gorgeous lifestyle, the abilities to help your family and community, fitness and health, free flow of creativity, all of these are expressions of a free mind. And this is important. The key for you, the third step, is always to have an unrestricted, unlimited mind, which you can therefore use more consciously to awaken your inner power and become a person who is fully alive. If you don't know this or how to do it, then you're risking your whole future, because what is the other choice? A limited or restricted mind, which means, of course, a limited or restricted life. So you certainly don't want that. And you'll not be able to see a bright future like that, or in fact anything different at all. Most people think this is it. they reach their middle age, they sort of settle into the trough or the rut of life, and they get stuck in it. And as Oscar Wilde said, the only difference between a rut and a grave is the depth. So you don't want to be in that situation where you're living a sort of half-dead life, which unfortunately many people are, and yet it's so easy to turn it around once you understand this knowledge, quite obviously. So the best way, the most effective way to truly freeing your mind is by deliberately developing your manifesting powers of becoming a conscious creator of your life experiences. So this is very, very good for you. And why is that? Because when you accept that you are a manifester and begin to exercise that faculty far more consciously, what happens is that you dissolve those past patterns, the energy anchors and blockages that are loaded into them that restrict you from maximizing your energy and your natural creative genius. Now, this is extremely helpful if you think about it. Just by starting to become a manifester, by deliberately having that intention to become a manifester, you free yourself from the grip of the past. And the more you free yourself from the grip of the past, the more skilled and effective you can be as a manifester. So it's a great loop to start to kick into place. A lot of people feel, I've got to clear up my past before I can have the life that I want. That is the wrong understanding. You clear up your life by creating the life that you want, by manifesting the life that you want. That's how it works. And so it's quite clearly vital to become a conscious manifester as soon as possible. Make that your life's work. You'll be thrilled with the benefits and results this gives you. Start to think to yourself, I am a manifester, I am a creator of my life, and it takes no more time out of your day to live like this. In fact, it'll give you much more free time and personal power than living the other way. I mean, what are you going to live instead of manifesting to choose and bring a better life? What are you going to live instead? So there's nothing else in existence that creates your life, so you might as well master it. And the other huge benefit from living like this is it's the fastest way of experiencing your superconscious, which means merging with the highest intelligence in the universe. What could be better than that? There is nothing better than that. That's the ultimate enlightenment goal that you hear about in all the spiritual disciplines. Now, it's all around you all the time. A lot of people feel, well, the superconscious is way at the top of that mountain. No, it's all around you all of the time. And all you have to do is know how to access it in the ways that we're discussing here, and then eventually merge with it. That's the ultimate goal. So the secret is to raise your level of consciousness by any traditional means, proper meditation, consciousness training, physical strengthening and stretching, or any other traditional practice. It's been worked out for thousands of years, so you just have to apply these kinds of things. The 5 Tibetans, it's another sort of series of exercises, or 7 Tibetans there are. Now, what is not known is this, and this is the key point of that section, is the lower your energy state, the more fractured your system. So the more that your personality structure is fractured into lots of little bits, lots of little sub-personalities, and you think from that one, and then you dance to that one, you think about that, and then you come to that one. So you're always changing behaviors, you're procrastinating, you can't stick to anything, you jump through hoops of many different moods and all that kind of stuff. So that's where your life force is low. As you increase the strength of your life force, you find that it comes up, so to speak, up the elevator, and your internal sense of power increases, and your sense of confidence and certainty also increases with that. If you are in a low energy state, you find it hard to concentrate or hold your attention on anything for extended periods, so you sink down to a low state. So let's look and see what to do to prevent that happening for you, because it's very simple. You see, this whole system is very, very simple in the sense that you get into a high state, you can manifest much more, you can lead a far more successful life, and if you don't, down the tubes you go into the low energy state. So here are the actions that will help you dramatically to lift yourself. And I've chosen ones that you can integrate with your everyday life. Okay? So first of all, first one is to, from now on, live as if everything is a miracle. Because in truth it really is. And you, strangely enough, have this miracle worker inside you, whether you are aware of it or not. Now, what good is it imagining that everything is a miracle? Well, what it does, if you look at life and you look at a beautiful plant or a tree or an ocean view, stars at night, any of those natural things, and you go, wow, how is this possibly happening? You get that sense of awe. Now, you bring that in more and more to your everyday life, because when you think about it, it's quite extraordinary how a plane flies, for instance, and how a bumblebee can fly with tiny little wings. There's all these things going on that sort of contradict the laws of common sense, you think, and yet we don't really spend any time considering it. If you can consider the marvelousness of how an ant can carry a huge stone to 10 times its size and things like that, then you start to reawaken what you lost as a child. You have to be like a child to enter the kingdom of heaven, they say. So what that means is the higher state. The kingdom of heaven is the higher state. So what is it that you've lost? You've lost that sense of awe, that sense of the miraculous. If you can bring that back, you will be shocked at how quickly you can make wonderful changes in your life. But you really have to live as if all is a miracle, because that will help you greatly shake off the shackles of limitations. Because whatever you consider, think about, hold in your mind comes into your life. And if you start to think about the wondrousness of the creation that you're living within, how the fact that you're alive at all, that's pretty miraculous when you think about it, when you look at the complexity of the human being, then this will free you and put you in this state of wonder and awe. So that's the first thing. Can you open your mind in that way? The second thing is to become more and more aware of how things happen in your life. So you develop the powers of self-examination, and what that will do is wake you up from the semi-trance. This is the big hindrance to everybody. You spoil your relationships, you spoil your financial life, you spoil your lifestyle. Everything, in other words, is undermined by the fact that you're in a trance. It's the degree of trance, of course, that makes a big difference, but basically you have to wake up from the semi-trance state that everybody lives in. Now, one way you can do that is at the end of each day, just before you go to bed, or just when you come in to the house for the evening, sit back, run through your mind what happened today. Now, after a few days, in the beginning it'll just be memories, but after a few days, when you use your mind consciously and deliberately like this, you'll start to gain insights into your hidden motivations, because everything you do is motivated by something in your mind. And that something, we don't know if it's positive or negative, but as you do that self-observation, self-analysis, memorizing of what happened during the day, running it through, you're going to open up an additional faculty in your mind where far greater perception arises, and you become aware of what drives all these areas in your life. That will help you, strangely enough, leave behind any limitations, because you must do that. You don't want to stay limited. You don't want to stay restricted. You want to shed those off your shoulders. And this is a simple but very, very effective way to do it, because consciousness is the key. When you become conscious of something, there is an effect. It can no longer run you as it used to. So you become conscious, and you make sure also that when you're on automatic, like reading a magazine, getting to the bottom of the page and forgetting you've read any of it, this is the semi-trance. You try to wake yourself up from the semi-trance as much as you possibly can, because that really ruins everything. It keeps you restricted into a very small range of subpersonalities, which are, you know, if you've got limited subpersonalities, you have a limited life. We should have a dozen different kinds of subpersonalities at least that are effective in our lives and powerful and uplifting. The less you have, the more dull you are, quite obviously, because you haven't got the energy. You need the subpersonalities for self-expression. And so what you do is you aim to free yourself of the semi-trance as soon as possible. And that is if you want your life to improve, because you can't be successful until you are fully conscious. You can be partially successful. You can maybe make a lot of money or have a good relationship or a pleasant lifestyle, but to be holistically successful requires you to become more and more conscious. Number 3, you start to recognize and identify any repeating patterns with, say, money, relationships, your job. Write these down so you can bring them to consciousness and deal with them. Because until you put them on the page, you won't deal with them. You've got to write out, what is this pattern I'm playing out? What is my financial pattern that I keep playing out over and over and over again? Just write it out. Don't judge it. Don't try to work it out as you write it, because what you're trying to do as you write it is you're trying to allow the superconscious to come through and give you the insights and means to free yourself of any of these negative things. Okay, so that's 3 simple additional things to do. Let's go to the 5th step now, and that is to observe yourself and begin to see how it is that you're manifesting your life experiences at present. Because quite clearly, you are certainly doing something at every moment of your life. Otherwise, no life experiences would manifest. None of us know what we're doing because we're not paying attention. We're just on automatic. We're behaving in this way, we're reacting in this way, we're making those choices, doing this, that, and the other, etc. But there's no real consciousness there. You can see it sometimes in people who are under life and death circumstances, the military or something like that, where if they make a mistake, they're dead, and they start to become very still and very, very practical in those situations. But what you want to do is observe yourself. How am I manifesting my relationship? What is it that I'm doing in my relationship to manifest those experiences that I'm actually having? Start to watch what thoughts, images, feelings, and so on arise within you in the various circumstances of your life. In other words, when you say walk into the office in the morning, just catch yourself for a moment before you get into the automatic running of what's to do today, and see if you can feel the quality of the energy, the feelings, the emotions that arise within you at a very subtle level as you go in. That'll teach you an awful lot. Same with when you come back home at night. Are you excited to come in? Are you dreading something? Are you just easygoing Joe or Josephine? Doesn't matter. So that observation is great. And also have a look and see, as you're looking at these major areas, what are the instructions that run through your mind when you're faced with a money decision of any type? What are you telling yourself with regards to gaining wealth? That's tremendously important, you know, because instructions are flowing through our minds all the time, constantly flowing through. And these feelings and thoughts and images are sometimes positive, happiness, or perhaps they're fear and worry, or confusion and desperation, nervousness and anxiety, Or the opposite, do you throw money away or do you hang on to it? There's a whole series of things going on in you with everything in your life that if you observe them, you can make tremendous progress of more consciousness and waking up from the trance if you want to. Do you feel, for instance, that there is plenty in your life? Or are you coming from a place of lack? And if so, why? Why is lack in there? What's it doing in your psyche? Because you really don't want it, let's face it. And then do that with your relationships, your self-confidence, your creativity, your job, your lifestyle, and anything else. So bring consciousness to every part of your mind. And the reason for that is that it's the only way to take back the power of your life to yourself. Now that might seem complex, but in truth, it only requires self-examination. Awareness, awareness, awareness. You see, the superconscious will start to come in more and more as you start to examine and consider and observe, and it'll tip you off, and it will tell you the truth. It has no other agendas. It just wants to tell you the truth. And another thing which is very helpful for you is that these observations will sharpen your perceptions, and it'll show you and bring to the surface, in other words, those inner instructions which are really early life patterns, and they're literally running your life. You can be absolutely certain that most people's lives are run by childhood patterns, unresolved childhood patterns. That's just what happens to the human race, which is not a very good thing to do, quite obviously. So the more you do this, the deeper you will dig, and you'll eventually find the seeds or the roots of these patterns that drive your life, and so be able to dissolve their power. The great meditation masters say you burn them out at the seed level. So they understood exactly what we're talking about here. And the other important thing is it's very unlikely you're going to be aware of these patterns because they're tucked into the subconscious so deeply. They do express them, excuse me, they do express themselves by choices and behaviors. So by being attentive to your life, you can see them revealed. So the more skilled you become at doing this, you will see it's remarkably straightforward to do, the more you'll discover that you can mold your life to be what you want it to be. The manifesting power becomes more obvious and more available. So another reality to deal with is, do there seem to be invisible walls holding you back from enjoying success in these areas? And do you sometimes find there are particular types of people that keep turning up in your life, even over many years, to either help you or restrict you? They're not the same people over and over again, although that can happen, but they're the same types of people, like an unpleasant boss or an unpleasant neighbor. So this kind of repeating, and you want to watch these really carefully, because the repeating patterns are repeating because they are unresolved. They're trying to alert you to a blockage or a problem that's sabotaging you, blocking you, limiting your life experience. And they can come as anything. They can come as struggle with money, relationships that fail, sudden loss of inability to create in psychology. And as you become more skilled at manifesting, what you find is that there are all sorts of repeating patterns. You become alert to them, aware of them for the first time in your life, and you realize, my goodness, I've been living this out for the last 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, whatever it is. That has been running my life. And it's often one little tiny thing that needs resolution. But unfortunately, when you're in an ordinary level of energy, you are in the semi-trance much more deeply, and you can't see these things. That's why, again, it's important to get into the higher state. So step 6, we'll look at that. Other mechanisms will also be revealed as you practice self-observation. You'll see that you are an automaton like everybody else much of the time, running out programs, as I've just mentioned. I mean, these programs can be useful, like how to drive a car and how to cook an egg, but really they become very restrictive. An automatic pattern restricts you, it limits you, you can't stretch out, you feel that you just can't get out of the little entrapment that you're living in. What you need to do is to be spontaneous, creative, insightful, innovative, or want to connect at a heart level with your spouse, and the mind will come up with all sorts of different agendas and scenarios to take you away from becoming a conscious being. That's one of the strange things that happen. It's an aberration, but it happens. And the reason it happens is because the pattern doesn't want to shift. It doesn't want to be let go of. It likes to run your life. So you want to be aware of that and keep your attention on what it is that really lives your life. And as you do that, as you practice manifesting, as you practice living your life as a conscious creator, it will reveal itself to you. The superconscious creative power will reveal itself, and you'll be stunned. And marvelous and miraculous experiences will take place. Coincidences, for instance, that give you fantastic benefits. You're in the right place at the right time. It's just an extraordinary thing. I mean, what is a miracle? It's just a coincidence in some examples where something happens that you go, wow, that's amazing. It's a natural power. It's not an unnatural power. It's totally natural. It's just that we're unfamiliar how these natural powers work because we've not studied the laws of life deeply enough. Well, if you doubt it, think about little unexpected events that take place regularly in your life. Take the coincidence, the old story. You're thinking of someone as you walk along the street that you haven't thought of for 10 years, and round the corner they come. Why, goodness, I haven't seen you, Joe, for so long. I was just thinking about you. This is so common. That's to be sort of old hat. Now, you must ask yourself, not just go, oh, isn't that a funny coincidence? You must ask yourself, how did that happen? What is the faculty that exists that can cause your mind to pick up their approach when they're not anywhere in your location? Something is in play. What is it? What is a premonition? What is déjà vu? Or people who've never been able to play the piano, get their head hit in a car crash, go into a coma, come out, and they speak perfect French, having only ever spoken English before. Those sorts of things. A lot of cases like that, if you look them up. You can see them in Google if you look them up. And hundreds of millions, I'm sure, of examples over the centuries of seemingly miraculous things that the mind can do. Now, people, strangely enough, just accept these things. They go, oh, yes, isn't that funny? They don't think, what are the ramifications of that? What does it mean to my life? What is in existence that other people have spontaneous use of that I could use? What is that thing that can create such extraordinary higher powers, expressions of amazing, bizarre events that are completely not covered or opposed to scientific thinking? That's something I must know about. And that is called the superconscious manifesting power, the manifesting genius within you. And it's not known in the mainstream that your superconscious has the power to manifest, which means to bring into being, to materialize the experiences of your life. So we began with the idea that you are in fact an experience creating instrument. We all know this. How do we know this? Because that's all we do. We create experiences and live them out. Cup of tea, lifelong relationship, family life, career, leisure activities. All of these are experiences. But what most people are unaware of is that every human being spends their entire life using their mind to manifest all their experiences, albeit from the unconscious. So you have within you already this power to do it. If you start to take a handle on it, grab the reins of your life, in other words, what you can become is not just a manifester where you consciously put stuff into your mind and the superconscious creates the scenario for you to experience, but you can also become a manifesting genius if you want. It's not like you have to sort of do something to become a genius apart from using your manifesting powers. Now, in the beginning, like an old car engine, they will cough and splutter. You'll get a little bit, and then it'll stop for a long time. Then another bit will come through it, then it'll stop. But if you start to believe and act as if this is the truth, which it is, then you find it comes to you much more quickly. So don't waste your time trying to fix your life in the external world only. What you do is you turn your attention to the internal world where your life is created from. Remember, we live in a mind-based universe. Mind holds the forms in the mind realm, the blueprints, and then those forms are manifested in the universe. So what does manifesting require for you? How can you begin this process? First of all, you have a desire for something. Then you have the intention to get it. Very important point. A lot of people just have the desire without the intention. Then you can do all the techniques like visualizing, using powerful emotional energy, multiple impressioning, where you put the goal in a variety of ways. You take actions in the world, very important, as if this thing was coming to you. You express behaviors that are in convergence with your goals. So if you're a bit of a tough nut and you want to get a relationship with a gorgeous woman, then you start to behave in ways that she would find attractive even before you've met her. So you start to, in other words, make your behaviors in convergence with your goal. And most importantly, you communicate regularly with your superconscious. That means you go within, you close your eyes, you rest, you become aware, you sense your whole body, you do your meditative practices, you chant, you do consciousness work, all those kinds of things. And you've seen how some people are in tune with life most of the time. You see others creating great fortunes, happy relationships, fascinating careers, and brimming with confidence and creativity. Why is it? What have they got? People who are holistically successful. They've got far more superconscious power than you. That's it. That's the only difference. They have merged or not been suppressed as much in their childhood, so that they are still in touch with their superconscious. Very, very important. The strange thing is that you also have enormous resources of power, intelligence, and creativity within you, but you're unaware of it. Nor do you know how to awaken, awaken and activate it. Once you do this, you will literally feel as though you're being born again. It's that kind of thing. It's so exciting, so fulfilling, so empowering, and like so many opportunities, life becomes a joy and an adventure. So this is what you need to aim your life for, to become somebody who can actually be able to manifest what they want in every part of their life. Many people start and then give up. Don't give up. Okay? Many people start and a whole lot of negativity arises because they're flushing out, squeezing the dirty water out of the sponge. Don't believe the dirty water as it's coming out. Okay? Don't believe the negativity as it's coming out. Always have your goal. Have your goal. Have your goal. Keep your whole house with little reminders, little tips, little stick notes on the cupboards and the mirror and what have you, to remind yourself that you are a superconscious being. You are somebody who has the complete superconscious abilities. You have the manifesting genius inside you, and all you have to do is to start bringing something into your life. Don't believe that you are something other than a manifesting being, because you're not. Everything in life, from a seed to an ocean to everything, brings forth more. What does that mean? It manifests more. So an acorn manifests an oak tree. See how it works? The ocean manifests all the fish, and so on. Galaxy and the stars. So you are part of that. You've come from the Big Bang. You are a part of the Big Bang. You're a bit of it. We all are. So that Big Bang has manifested a whole universe. You're a bit of it. You can manifest what you want. But you must take the reins of your life. You must say to yourself, I am going to create this. Start something small. Fine. Little tiny thing just to get the hang of it. And then life will give you a few surprises. This is what happens. You start doing something small, and very often the superconscious creates some extraordinary benefit that gave you a big surprise. You didn't know that was coming. And you have these magic powers, these miraculous powers, these so-called supernatural. They're not supernatural, they're just natural powers that are quite super in the sense of the effects that they can give. So you can be assured of one thing: science has not discovered all the laws of the universe. We know that, and any good scientist will be the first to admit that. There are so many, many things to discover. They're discovering things that really bring them more and more into alignment with this ancient wisdom. And so to save you waiting by the roadside for the mainstream to catch up, which they will not catch up in your lifetime, unless you're going to live for 1,000 years perhaps, then you need to educate yourself, you need to inform yourself, you need to put into practice these kinds of things, you need to be inspired, and you need to really be in the intention and commitment to do it. That's the only way to do it. I have studied this stuff for 50 years. Never a day goes by that something about it is not brought to my attention. I obviously read and study formally, but this is the great key for you. Now, the superconscious, which is not really understood very much anywhere, is your highest faculty. You have the unconscious, the subconscious, the conscious, and the superconscious parts of your mind. It's all one thing, but the superconscious is the vast infinity, eternity of the highest intelligence within you. It is on your side. It wants to help you. It will help you. It will respond to you. You just have to want what you want. And how do you show the superconscious what you want? You start to live in a particular way. You start to do your mind techniques. You start to aim to manifest something. And the superconscious goes, here's one who understands. I'll come in and help. And that's a very common result and response that people report to me all the time.